The shocking financial life of the average person. Have you ever been lying awake at night staring at the ceiling, and that one thought creeps into your mind? Am I doing okay? You scroll through social media and see friends buying houses, coworkers leasing new cars, and you get that quiet sinking feeling. Am I keeping up? Am I normal? Am I ahead of the curve? Or am I secretly falling behind everyone else? This question is one of the biggest sources of financial anxiety, and it's because most of us are flying completely blind. But what if I told you that being financially normal is one of the most dangerous things you can be? What if the average life, the one society tells you is perfectly acceptable, is actually a tightrope walk over a canyon of financial ruin with no safety net below? The problem isn't being above or below average. The problem is that the average itself is a trap, and I'm going to prove it to you today by walking you through the complete financial life of Average Joe, from his first paycheck to his final retirement day, using real data that will shock you. Drop a comment, wake up call, if you're ready to see why average equals fragile. Let's meet Joe. Number 1. The average trap and meeting Joe, income versus reality. Let me show you why we're obsessed with being average, and why that instinct is killing your financial future. For thousands of years, being in the middle of the pack meant safety. Think about it. The wildebeest on the edge of the herd is the one that gets picked off by the lion. So we naturally think that if we're just doing what everyone else is doing with our money, we must be safe. We think average equals a passing grade, a comfortable spot in the middle where nothing bad can happen. But that's a deadly false belief in the world of modern finance. Average doesn't mean safe, it means fragile. Think of the average financial life as a house of cards. From a distance, it looks okay. It has the shape of a house, and everyone else on the street is building one too, so it seems like a perfectly normal and stable way to live. But it's built with zero margin for error. There's no resilience, no foundation, no room for the unexpected. The slightest gust of wind, a sudden job loss, an unexpected medical bill, a major car repair, and the entire structure comes crashing down instantly. Being average means you're living in a state of hidden, constant risk, and you don't even realize it. So let me introduce you to someone who will help us see this clearly. We'll call him Average Joe. Joe isn't just a character I made up. He's a statistical ghost, built from the collective data of millions of Americans. He's our neighbors, our family members, our coworkers. In some ways, he's us. As we walk through his life and look at his numbers, I want you to ask yourself a simple question. Which parts of Joe's story are also my story? Let's meet Joe right at the beginning of his financial story as he steps into the workforce. He's done everything he was told to do, went to school, worked hard, landed a full-time job. The first number that defines his life is his income. The median income for someone like Joe is about $52,000 a year. Honestly, that feels like a win. After taxes, he brings home about $3,500 a month. And for the first time, he feels real adult independence. This income creates a powerful illusion of security. It feels like a sturdy foundation he can build on. Joe does what we all instinctively do. He compares himself to his peers. He sees that his salary is right in the middle, and a wave of relief washes over him. Okay, I'm not falling behind. I'm not rich, but I'm definitely not poor. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. But that's just the obvious part. What I'm about to say is what makes the difference between people who build wealth and people who spend their lives wondering why they can't get ahead. Joe internalizes average not as a starting point, but as a destination. He believes he's arrived at a place of stability, not realizing that in modern finance, the middle of the road is where all the accidents happen. With that money flowing in, Joe starts building a life. He gets an apartment, a car, and a social life. Eventually, he forms a household, maybe with a partner, and this is where things get dangerous. According to the data, the average American household spends about $67,000 a year. Let that sink in. Joe's respectable individual income is $52,000. but the cost of a normal lifestyle is $67,000. This gap, this $15,000 shortfall, is the central fatal flaw in the average person's financial life. The lifestyle that's marketed to us, the one we see all around us and perceive as normal, is mathematically designed to be just out of reach for the average income. It's a setup for failure. What's worse is that the definition of a normal life has quietly inflated into a luxury product. The idea of a small starter home or a simple, reliable car has been replaced. The new baseline is a bigger house in a good school district, 2 newer cars with the latest tech, and yearly family vacations. Joe isn't irresponsible. He's simply trying to provide what society now labels as a standard middle-class life. He's not buying yachts, he's trying to buy a sense of normalcy, without realizing the price tag for normal has been pushed into the stratosphere. And Joe isn't just dealing with passive social pressure. He's facing an active daily assault on his willpower. His phone listens to his conversations and serves him targeted ads. Every website offers buy now, pay later, disguising a $200 purchase as 4 easy payments of $50. The entire modern economy is engineered with behavioral psychology to separate Joe from his money as efficiently as possible. He's not just making choices in a vacuum, he's a soldier in a financial war he doesn't even know he's fighting. And he's losing ground every single day. Here's your action step. Calculate your gap right now. Take your monthly take-home pay and compare it to what you actually spend. Track your spending for 30 days, not to judge yourself, but to see the truth. If there's a gap, that's your real financial emergency, not your car breaking down. Let me share a quick story. I know a couple earning $60,000 combined who were spending $75,000 annually. They had no idea until they tracked it. Once they saw that $15,000 gap, they cut their lifestyle by 20% and saved $15,000 their first year. The wife told me, "We thought we were living normally. We were living broke and calling it middle class." The principle is brutal, but true. Average isn't safety. It's the slow march toward financial disaster, dressed up as keeping up with the Joneses. The herd mentality that kept our ancestors safe now leads straight off a financial cliff. But that gap between income and spending is real. So how does Joe bridge it? This leads us to the darkest part of his story. Real talk. Do you know if your spending exceeds your income? Have you ever actually tracked it? Or are you just hoping it works out? Comment tracked or hoping, no judgment. Just want to see how many people are flying blind. Number 2, the debt trap. But that gap between income and spending is real. So how does Joe bridge it? He bridges it with the easiest tool available to him, debt. Specifically, the most toxic, wealth-destroying kind of debt there is. Here's the gut punch, the number that explains everything. The average American household carrying a balance on its credit cards owes over $9,000. This debt didn't happen all at once. It was 1,000 small paper cuts, a car repair that cost $800, a plane ticket for a wedding that cost $500, Christmas gifts that added another $1,000, medical bills, an appliance that died at the worst possible time. Slowly, quietly, this balance grew. And now it's a permanent feature of his life. A giant ball and chain he has to drag everywhere. The most insidious part of this debt is the illusion of manageability offered by the minimum payment. The credit card company sends Joe a bill showing he owes $9,000, but says, "Don't worry, you only have to pay us $250 this month." Joe breathes a sigh of relief, thinking, "I can handle that." Wait, there's something you need to pay attention to if you don't want to become a slave forever. What Joe fails to understand is that the minimum payment is a mathematical trap designed to keep him in debt for decades. On a $9,000 balance at 20% interest, if he only pays the minimum, it will take him over 20 years to pay it off. 20 years, and he'll have paid the bank thousands upon thousands of dollars in interest, far more than the original $9,000 he'd borrowed. The minimum payment isn't a lifeline. It's the anchor that ensures he sinks slowly, But this debt does something even more destructive than just costing him money and interest. It fundamentally changes his relationship with his life. That $9,000 balance becomes his real boss, not his actual employer, but this faceless number on a statement. He can't quit a job he hates because the visa bill is due on the 15th. He can't take a risk on a promising new career that might pay less for the first year because he can't afford any disruption to his cash flow. He can't move to a lower cost of living area to save money because he needs this specific salary to keep up with the payments. The debt anchors him to the present, forbidding him from making bold moves for his future. It steals his options, his flexibility, and ultimately his freedom, long before he even realizes they're gone. There's ancient wisdom about this that's brutally clear. Proverbs 22:7 says, "The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender." That's not a metaphor, it's a literal truth. Joe's debt owns his decisions. The Jewish Talmud asks, "Who is wealthy?" and answers, "One who is satisfied with their portion." But Joe isn't satisfied. He's constantly bridging that gap with debt, trying to afford a lifestyle his income can't support. Ancient Roman society even had a word for it, nexum, debt bondage, where a debtor becomes a bound servant to their creditor. Ancient civilizations recognized that debt equals slavery. Modern society just disguises it with phrases like manageable monthly payments and building credit. Here's your actionable step. Calculate the real cost of your debt right now. List every debt you have with its interest rate. Then calculate the total interest you'll pay over the life of that debt if you only make minimum payments. For example, what $9,000 at 20% with minimum payments? You'll pay over $17,000 total. You're not borrowing $9,000, you're agreeing to pay $17,000 or more. Once you see that number, you can't unsee it. Then use the debt avalanche method. Pay minimums on everything, but throw every extra dollar at your highest interest rate debt. Once that's paid off, roll that entire payment into the next highest rate. Make the debt so uncomfortable you can't ignore it anymore. Here's a story that drives this home. I know a man who had $15,000 in credit card debt and felt it was manageable at $400 per month minimum payments. Then he actually did the math and discovered it would take him 28 years to pay off, and he'd pay $34,000 total, more than double what he borrowed. That calculation made him angry, genuinely, viscerally angry. He worked a side hustle on weekends, threw every penny at that debt, and paid it off in 18 months instead of 28 years. He told me, the minimum payment wasn't helping me, it was a subscription to stay poor. The day I got angry enough to cancel that subscription, everything changed. The principle is this: debt isn't a tool, it's a trap disguised as convenience. The minimum payment is designed to keep you comfortable enough to stay enslaved. True freedom begins when you get uncomfortable enough to break free. But that's just the surface. What's behind it is what will startle people about what Joe has left for his future. If you're carrying credit card debt right now, do you know how many years it will take to pay off at your current minimum payment? Comment years if you know, or no idea if you don't. Sometimes the first step is admitting we don't know. Number 3. The Savings Mirage. With his income squeezed by an expensive lifestyle and a chunk of it being siphoned off by the black hole of interest payments, what's left for Joe's future? This brings us to his savings rate, which is less of a number and more of a tragedy. The average American saves only 6% of their after-tax income. 6%. For Joe, that's about $210 a month. Let's call this number what it really is, his escape velocity. And at 6%, his rocket is barely hovering an inch off the launch pad. It's burning an immense amount of fuel, his time, his energy, his life force. But it's not actually going anywhere. This brutally slow progress creates a dangerous psychological side effect. It makes saving feel pointless. When Joe looks at his savings account after 6 months of discipline, he sees just over $1,200. It doesn't feel like a powerful foundation for his future. It feels like a pittance. The reward is so small and so far away that it becomes incredibly tempting to just give up. This leads to what I call the "what's the point" mindset. He thinks, "I've been so good, I deserve a little treat," and he raids his small savings for a weekend trip or a new TV, wiping out months of progress in a single afternoon. This reinforces the belief that he's just not capable of getting ahead. So Joe stays on this wheel for years, then decades, earning, spending, paying interest, and saving whatever scraps are left. It sounds simple, but the hardest part is what's about to be told next. After 20 years of this normal financial life, what does Joe actually have to show for it? Let's check the scoreboard. The median net worth for a household of Joe's age between 35 and 44 is just $91,000. As he nears retirement between 55 and 64, it climbs to $212,000. But here's the critical detail that changes everything. The vast majority of this number is his home equity. It's trapped wealth. To understand how dangerous this is, let me introduce you to investor Jane. Jane is 58 years old and also has a net worth of $212,000. But Jane rents an apartment. Her entire net worth is in a simple stock market index fund. Now, who is wealthier, Joe or Jane? It's not even a contest. Jane is infinitely wealthier. Her $212,000 is a productive asset. It works for her 24/7, generating dividends and growth, which could produce nearly $20,000 a year in income for her to actually live on. Joe's $212,000 is a static, costly asset. It doesn't pay him. He pays it in property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. His net worth is a liability in disguise, locked up in walls and a roof that cost him money every single month. There's an ancient parable that captures this perfectly. In the biblical story of the talents, a master gave 3 servants money to manage. 2 invested and doubled their money. The third buried him in the ground to keep it safe. When the master returned, he was furious with that servant, calling him wicked and lazy for not even putting the money with bankers to earn interest. Joe's wealth buried in his house is the modern version of that buried talent. And there's another ancient story, Aesop's fable of the goose that laid golden eggs. A wealthy farmer had a goose that laid 1 golden egg every day. He got greedy, killed the goose to get all the eggs at once, and ended up with no goose and no eggs. Joe's house is the goose he killed by putting all his wealth into it. It produces no eggs, no income. It just sits there, costing him money while he waits for retirement. Here's your actionable step. Calculate what your savings rate actually is. Take the total amount you saved last year and divide it by your total after-tax income. That percentage is your savings rate. If it's below 15%, you're on Joe's path. Then make this commitment. Increase your savings rate by just 1% every 3 months. Start where you are, even if it's 2%. Every quarter, bump it up by 1%. In 1 year, you've increased it by 4%. In 3 years, by 12%. Small increments create sustainable change. And here's the key. Automate it first, not last. Make the savings come out before you even see the money. Then live on what's left. You can't spend what you don't see. Let me share a story that illustrates this powerfully. I know a woman who at age 45 had $18,000 net worth. All of it home equity, 0 liquid assets. One day she had this realization. I own nothing that makes me money. Everything I own costs me money. That thought changed everything. She stopped upgrading her house and started investing instead. 10 years later, at age 55, she had $180,000 invested, generating $14,000 a year in passive income. She told me, I used to measure wealth by what I owned. Now I measure it by what works for me while I sleep. The principle is this. Wealth isn't what you own, it's what produces income for you. Your house isn't an investment if it's not paying you rent. True wealth is assets that generate cash flow, not assets that consume it. Do you see anything unusual? The answer is right here, in what's waiting for Joe at the end of the road. What's your actual savings rate? Take last year's total savings wire after-tax income equals your percent. Comment with just the number, even if it's 0%, 2%, or 15%. No shame, just data. Number 4. The retirement tragedy. This brings us to the final destination, the end of the road. Joe is 67 years old. He's worked for over 40 years. He gets the cake at the office, shakes some hands, and walks out the door into retirement. What is waiting for him on the other side? After a lifetime of labor, the median amount Americans have saved specifically for retirement is a horrifying $65,000. Let's be generous and say Joe managed to save the median for his age group, about $88,000. He sits down at his kitchen table and does the math for the first time with a horrifying sense of clarity. Using the 4% rule, the standard guideline for safe retirement withdrawals, that $88,000 nest egg will generate about $3,500 a year. That's less than $300 a month. That is his reward. After 40 years of showing up, working hard, and doing everything society told him to do, his golden years will be almost entirely dependent on Social Security. They'll be spent navigating rising healthcare costs on a fixed income. It will mean keeping the thermostat a little too low in winter to save on heating bills. It will mean choosing between getting that dental procedure done and fixing the car. It will mean not being able to afford a flight to see his grandkids more than once a year, if that. This isn't retirement. This is survival mode with a different name. All of the above will be meaningless if you miss the last detail. But what if? What if Joe had simply rejected average? What if instead of a 6% savings rate, he had found a way to save 15% of his income? It would have meant driving his car for a few more years instead of upgrading. Maybe living in a slightly smaller house, saying no to a few vacations. But what would his retirement look like? Instead of $88,000, a 15% savings rate over his career would have left him with a portfolio of over $700,000. That same 4% rule would now generate $28,000 a year, over $2,300 a month. That is a completely different life. It's a life of dignity, of options, of travel, of generosity. It's the life he thought he was working toward all along. And here's the tragedy that should break your heart. That life was available to him. The difference between a retirement of poverty and a retirement of comfort was a choice he never realized he was making. Proverbs says the plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty. Joe was diligent, but at the wrong things. He was diligent at keeping up appearances, at maintaining a lifestyle, at doing what everyone else was doing. He wasn't diligent at building actual wealth. The ancient fable of the ant and the grasshopper comes to mind. The grasshopper played all summer while the ant worked and stored. When winter came, the grasshopper starved while the ant survived. Joe looked like the ant. He worked hard his entire life, but he stored nothing of real value. He was the grasshopper disguised as the ant. Here's your actionable step, and I need you to do this today. Run your retirement numbers right now. Take whatever you have saved and multiply it by 0.04. That's your annual retirement income from savings. Divide by 12, that's your monthly income. Is that enough? If not, work backwards. What do you need monthly? Multiply by 12 for annual, then divide by 0.4. That's your target portfolio. For example, if you need $3,000 monthly, that's $36,000 annually, which means you need $900,000 saved. Use a retirement calculator to figure out what monthly savings you need to hit that target. Then start now, not someday, not next year, now. Let me share one final story. I know a man who attended his retirement party at age 67 with $72,000 saved. He watched a younger colleague get promoted that same week and felt bitter. He said, "I gave this company 40 years. The colleague replied gently, "You gave them your time. But did you give your future anything?" The man went home and cried. He finally realized he'd spent 40 years earning money, but almost nothing building wealth. He later told his grandson, "Don't just work hard, work smart. Hard work without savings is just slow-motion poverty." The principle is this. The tragedy isn't working 40 years. It's working 40 years and having nothing to show for it but memories of struggle. Average isn't a benchmark for success. It's a warning label. The conventional path doesn't lead to security. It leads to Joe's kitchen table at 67, doing math that breaks your heart. So that's it. That's the story of Average Joe. Have you ever calculated how much money you'll actually need in retirement, or are you just hoping it works out? Comment calculated or hoping. This might be your wake-up call. So that's it. That's the story of Average Joe. It's not a story of failure or bad luck. It's a story of what happens when you follow the conventional path to the letter. Joe played the game by all the rules and won, only to discover the prize was a trap. The problem wasn't Joe. The problem was the playbook itself. Average isn't a benchmark for success. It's a warning sign. The normal financial path is designed to extract every dollar you earn and leave you with just enough to scrape by in your old age. It's easy to be average. All the marketing, all the social pressure, it all pushes you down Joe's path. But choosing to be different? Choosing a savings rate higher than 6%, choosing to reject high-interest debt, choosing to live below your means instead of at the edge, that takes courage and intention. Here's the truth. That choice is available to you right now. And it doesn't start with some giant terrifying leap. It starts with one small intentional decision. Track your spending for 1 week. Calculate your actual savings rate. Run your retirement numbers today. Set up one automatic transfer for even just $50. Comment wake-up call right now if Average Joe's story hit too close to home. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Average is a trap, not a destination. Look at Joe's story. Is that the retirement you want for your future self? Is that the financial reality you're willing to accept? The story isn't written yet. You're the author. Joe followed average to quiet desperation. You can choose a different ending. The difference between his reality and financial freedom was just 9% more savings. 9%, that's the distance between struggle and dignity. You're writing your story right now, either by action or inaction. Choose wisely.